All right, Alfred Taliaferro, Mr. Taliaferro TV. This is one of those extended videos for my basketball fans out there that really wanted to know what went on last night, what transpired in the NBA draft lottery, how it's going to impact your favorite teams. Pretty much, this ain't for the casual sports fan, but if you want to try to get into basketball, I salute you for it. A lot did happen. I thought about going on last night and just talking about what happened, but I said I'll wait till today, kind of let things boil over, and I'm glad that I did. All right, last night I had no idea that LeVar Ball would be doing interviews. I should have expected that, but I had no idea that LeVar Ball would go on air today and say some of the things that he said, so I gotta cover that. We gotta talk about, obviously, the Boston Celtics landing the #1 pick but still having to play in the conference finals game 1 tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers. What a time to be a Boston Celtic if you're an NBA fan. If you're a fan of basketball, what a time to be a Boston Celtics fan, man. An incredible time for them, let alone if they're able to somehow defeat these Cleveland Cavaliers and get to the finals. So we'll talk about Boston Celtics, and it looks like who they're going to have to draft. It looks like they're forced to draft somebody. We'll also talk about LeVar, Lonzo, of course, the Lakers, the position that they're in, and I'll even get into what do I expect them to do with their pick. All right, well, let's talk about some losers real quick before we get into some of the winners. Let's talk about some losers. A lot of went on. All right, so Sacramento has the 5th pick. I think they'll be able to add an asset going forward, whether it's a guard or it's a forward, whatever. They need a lot, right? They need a lot, and I think Sacramento, they didn't lose in this draft, in this mock draft. They definitely, being at number 5, there is some room to pick up some guys. Maybe it's a Malik Monk if he falls, or maybe it's someone of the talent of De'Aaron Fox, or there's a lot of ways they can go. Jonathan Isaac out of Florida State is somebody. The New York Knicks is a team that I thought they dropped. They were projected to be at 7, and they ended up with number 8. They're probably going to take that pick and probably pick overseas. They've notoriously picked overseas in their recent past, a la Kristaps Porzingis. Yeah. And that's pretty much that stands out to me. The Knicks are some losers. Sacramento possibly losers if they don't get this right. Orlando, it seems like every year Orlando's never the #1 pick, but they're always like between 4 to 6, so they're never good enough to get the elite game franchise changing talent, but they're better than nothing. They get better than nothing. Phoenix at number 4. Remember, the Lakers were the 3rd worst record in the NBA, but Phoenix was the 2nd worst record in the NBA, so they had their hopes on being able to get maybe a Lonzo Ball or Markelle Fultz, but they ended up sliding to 4. I still think they'll be okay. There is a De'Aaron Fox out there. If Philadelphia doesn't draft him, I'll get to Philly in a second. There's going to be a Malik Monk out there. I don't know how well he would pair with a Devin Booker, but there will be talent out there for Phoenix. All right, Josh Jackson will be available. I think that makes the most sense out of Kansas. Josh Jackson is, as long as it get, probably the best length in the draft. To me, he can borderline be great if he figures this thing out. I think he has to do a lot of maturing. I can look at him and tell he's nowhere close to where he needs to be from a mature standpoint. And I don't know how millions of dollars are going to do to help that, but I think he needs to grow the hell up. And you put him with Devin Booker, if he can figure this thing out, that's a lot of good young talent right there between Josh Jackson and Devin Booker. I'll tell you that. That's a lot of good young talent. Devin Booker put up 70 last year. Don't ever forget that. On the Boston Celtics, who are in the Eastern Conference Finals right now as we speak. Don't you ever forget that. Let's go to Philly. I think Philly's at that point where I don't know what the hell they're going to do. They could go Josh Jackson. It looks like the Lakers and Boston are going to go after guards. I don't know what the hell Philly's going to do. Maybe they go Jason Tatum. But you got so much young talent. You still haven't seen Ben Simmons play. You still have guys like Joel Embiid, who's yet to stay healthy. Jahlil Okafor, You got, of course, a lot of talent that hasn't worked out yet. But to me, there's still a lot of room for this talent to progress. Again, Ben Simmons will be playing. I think he's close to healthy right now. And that'll tell you a lot. I think just working with him this offseason. You got Dario Saric, who I think is a pretty good talent. You just got so much young talent that was expected to be the guy. I don't know where you go with all this talent, and I don't know if it's time to make a trade. I think Philly will kind of dictate this entire draft, pretty much contingent on what the hell they do. They have a lot going on, and I think Philly, from 3 on, the draft to me starts at number 3, because we pretty much know who's number 1 and number 2 going to be, unless the Boston Celtics trade out. Let's go ahead and get into Boston, and I'll leave the Lakers for last. The Boston Celtics gained the number 1 pick. Again, they're still in the Eastern Conference Final. They got a chance to win this damn thing. They're part of the Final 4 teams, and they still got a chance to win the damn championship. I know a lot of people counting them out, including self, but I think they're going to at least win a game. So maybe if you could get your first 2 games at home, you go up to 2-0, going back to Cleveland, you put some pressure on the Cavs, on LeBron and company. It starts tonight in Boston, so we will see with that. But you talk about Boston, Danny Ainge is no dummy, all right? He pulled off maybe the biggest blockbuster trade, and with trading with Brooklyn for an agent, Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. Remember, Brooklyn pretty much traded the home and the ship when they got Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce. They traded so many damn picks. By the way, Boston will have Brooklyn's pick next year, their top pick, and it doesn't look like Brooklyn's going to get any superstars next year. They need new ownership. They need new everything, new management, new ownership. They need new everything. They're so terrible. They're so atrocious. And it looks like it's only going to get worse because they're not going to have that pick next year. So their rebuild process in Brooklyn doesn't start to after next year. After pretty much looking into the 2019 draft. That's pretty much where we're at with it right now. Boston can do a lot of things with this pick. A lot of people saying go after the best player in the draft. A lot of people believe Markelle Fultz is the best player in the draft. I'm not going to disagree with you. If you want somebody who's ready to score now, a lot of people comparing him to a Damian Lillard type scorer, a guy who can get his own buckets but doesn't make anybody else better around him. Let's not forget that his Washington team was like 9-21 last season. I don't know how in the hell, if you're that good of an NBA talent, can your team go 9-21? I get it. He didn't have a lot of weapons around him, but he had enough of a requisite talent to at least be better than 9 damn wins, and you the number 1 pick. Carmelo wouldn't let Syracuse go for 9 wins. LeBron, if he played a game in college, damn sure wouldn't let his team have 9 wins. I'm just saying, if he's this much of a game changer, 9 wins is pretty low. Pretty low, all right? For a Washington team that could have competed for a conference championship in their conference that they were in. That's just my opinion. So a lot of people saying Danny Ainge is going to go after Markelle Fultz and just go get the best player and figure this thing out. Let Markelle Fultz play the off guard and still keep Isaiah at the 1. That's a pretty small backcourt. Isaiah's a pretty small guy. They still have Avery Bradley. Honestly, Boston has an influx of too much damn talent. And I personally think they should have did this at the trade deadline, and they're going to fill this in the conference finals against LeBron James. They should have went out after one more scorer at the 3. They had enough talent to go. That's crazy. They would have had whoever, Chicago, if you would have pulled the trigger on Jimmy Butler or Paul George, Indiana, you would have had the number 1 pick in the draft. You would have been able to reboot this thing with the number 1 pick. Now, it's not too late. I don't know where Danny Ainge and company is and where their head is with it, but they could trade this pick, and I think that makes this the most sense, and they could really screw the Lakers, right? If they really want to screw the Lakers, they could just draft Lonzo Ball. If they really want to fuck the Lakers over, the Lakers need Lonzo Ball. But we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to the Lakers and their situation with Lonzo Ball in a second. Danny Ainge could possibly trade this pick. I don't know. Maybe Indiana. I know Indiana's going to want to move Paul George this offseason for the right price. Larry Bird, who has recently stepped down, he kind of hinted at this before he got out of town. They're going to want to trade that pick. Paul George for a pick. And I think trading it for Markelle Fultz or Lonzo Ball might be the right move. So you look at this talent, you look at this team, they got Kelly Olynyk, they got Avery Bradley, they have Jake Crowder, they have Marcus Smart, who I'm falling in love with as on the court. That dude is really been going hard. He's averaging about 9 point something points a game, 4.7 assists a game, 5 rebounds a game. If you get that kind of production off your bench, I think you're fine on the bench. Let's not forget they got the number 3 pick, Jaylen Brown. The Boston Celtics are going to be good for a very long time. A very long time. They're going to challenge Cleveland as soon as next year. They got to get this right, though, because now it's time to turn some of this young talent and go get a superstar. Go get a really good star. Go get a Jimmy Butler. If they would have traded for Jimmy Butler at the trade deadline, I think they could have competed for a championship this year. All right? So maybe you go after, you trade the pick, and maybe Marcus Smart for Jimmy Butler. I think if I'm Chicago or Indiana, you take that pick. You take that trade, period. You take that. That is a huge rebuild. You can get somebody like maybe an Avery Bradley in that pick. That could be Lonzo Ball or Markelle Fultz, or a Marcus Smart in that pick, which is probably what it's going to take to get Paul George or Jimmy Butler. You do that. Or Boston has so much riding on their side. Remember, their coach is Brad Stevens. Where did Brad Stevens coach at in college? Butler. Who did he have as a coach? Gordon Hayward. Who's a free agent this offseason? Gordon Hayward. Who's expected to leave Utah? Gordon Hayward. All right. So maybe they don't even need to go get that far. Things can work out so great for the Boston Celtics. They could theoretically sign. They could draft Markelle Fultz. They could sign Gordon Hayward and keep everything they got intact for next year if they wanted to. Or it's so many ways this can go right for Boston. They could. I think they'll probably move on from Avery Bradley in the next couple of years. That's what I think. I think they'll do, because they're gonna have to pay him sooner or later. I think you sign Gordon Hayward straight up. You draft Markelle Fultz, and if you want to work it that way, I like that. That's only if you know you can sign Gordon Hayward. If not, I say go trade a couple of these picks, maybe the next year's pick. And, you know, you got Brooklyn really screwed themselves over. They look stupid right now for KG and Paul Pierce, and that shit didn't work out. So there's so many things Boston can do, but here Boston could really screw the Lakers if they trade that pick. Speaking of the Lakers, LeVar Ball, I already did a story on this one. LeVar Ball went on FS1 this morning, and he said Lonzo Ball won't be working out for any other team outside of the Lakers. Nobody outside of the Laker Nation was happier when they found out that the Lakers had the number 2 pick than LeVar and Lonzo Ball. They want to stay in the LA area. That's home to them. They have been pretty much put in a position where they know they control their destiny. They're going to try to pressure the Lakers into drafting Magic Johnson and company into drafting Lonzo Ball. They're only Lakers. To understand the NBA, you don't have to work out for a team for them to draft you. You don't have to meet with a team for them to draft you. They can draft you if you own your rights if they want to. But it's in your best interest to meet with the guy that you're investing money and a lot of time and effort in with your franchise for the next few years, especially at a number 1 pick. A top 5 pick, which would be number 2 for the Lakers this year. So, if I'm Boston, they're probably going to stay away from Lonzo Ball, and LeVar and them are trying to put that in the atmosphere for them to stay away from him, because they're saying we're not going to work out for Boston. Now, if they draft him, he has no choice but to play or just not play in the NBA, so he'll play. But it looks like Boston has their eyes set on Markelle Fultz, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, honestly, to put Isaiah Thomas and Lonzo Ball together. I don't know if Lonzo can play the 2. LeVar Ball, his dad, thinks he can't play the 2. I don't know if you put Lonzo in at point and try to put Isaiah Thomas as a 2 guard at 5'9". That's not going to work. That's not going to work. And you have Avery Bradley, who's a small 2 himself. What would you move him to the 3? No. LeVar Ball makes no sense. Now, the only thing that they could do is trade that pick and maybe look at maybe Chicago wants Lonzo Ball at number 1. Maybe Indiana wants Lonzo Ball at number 1. The Lakers could do nothing about that. So that's kind of something that they have to look out for. And from Boston's standpoint, but it looks like things are going to work out for the 2 most prestigious franchises in the NBA, the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers. It looks like Boston's going to draft Markelle Fultz right now until something changes. Maybe contingent on how they look against the Cleveland Cavaliers. If they get swept, I think it's time to really go ahead and shake this roster up and keep Isaiah. You got Al Horford signed. You got a lot of these guys on low contracts. Go ahead and shake it up and make things shake and go after Jimmy Butler, Paul George, or Gordon Hayward, who you can sign straight up this offseason without giving away anything for Gordon Hayward. So you get him and you go after Markelle Fultz and you go after this thing. I think that's enough to compete with the Cavs right there. but they can take it another level, trade the pick, go get an established veteran like Jimmy Butler or Paul George. And you could still sign Gordon Hayward if you wanted to, but again, cap reasons, that probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. There's so many things that this team can do. They maybe could get Paul George or Jimmy Butler for next year's pick straight up, because everybody knows Brooklyn's going to be atrocious next year. Maybe if you look into the draft next year, you see a guy that you want next year. So there's so many things Boston can do. The Lakers were granted a gift. Remember, if they fell out of the top 3, they would have lost their pick this year and their pick next year. So look, the Lakers are not complaining with number 2. Magic is happy as hell at night tonight. All right, he's happy. He slept like a baby last night. Magic is great with the position that he's in. He's going to be able to keep his pick this year and next year. Remember the Andrew Bynum trade? They could have lost their pick to Philly. And it looks like the Lakers are going to get their guy, Lonzo Ball. All right. Thank you for the time, love, support. I don't take it for granted. Salute. What do you think about everything that transpired in the NBA draft lottery? And go ahead and give me your top 5 picks, how you think they're going to transpire in the NBA draft. Salute. I'm out. If you're looking to book me for an interview, video, or by phone, if you're looking to have your music or your skill featured on my daily podcast, if you're looking to book me for a speaking engagement to help motivate some kids, if you're looking to have me rock some of your clothing to help promote your brand, make sure you hit me up at booking@itsmrtaliaferro.com. Again, that's booking@itsmrtaliaferro.com.